Hi there. I think we're going to get started. Welcome to our webinar today, 5 bright on-site personalization optimizations for the Black Friday weekend. Thanks for joining me. My name is Rory Gilmore, and I am Head of Customer Experience for the UK and Ireland here at Nosto. And today we're going to go through a couple of different topics. We're going to start by reviewing Black Friday by the numbers, kind of in context of what we've seen with our retailers over the last 2 years. Then we want to discuss our kind of view on how we want to test and optimize on-site experiences. Thirdly, we're going to dive into optimizations we suggest you start testing for, like in the next couple of weeks, to ensure that your site is performing at its optimum level, like during the Black Friday weekend. And finally, we're going to have a quick Q&A at the end to answer any remaining questions or anything that might be outstanding. So let's jump in. What we want to first look at is Black Friday weekend by the numbers. We're a data-driven business, and every year our business intelligence team pulls together a report to show the different statistics and trends from across this weekend, looking at all of the retailers that we work with. And between 2017 to 2018, we've seen a significant uplift in both traffic and sales, as you can see on the slide here. With some forecasting and some assumptions, we're able to predict that retailers will continue to see this kind of growth in volume this year and many years to come. And the good news is that the sales are growing more than 2 times as fast as traffic between 2017 and 2018 for retailers. So not only are they, are we getting more shoppers, but we're convincing a larger proportion of those shoppers to actually turn into buyers, turning those browsers into people that are going to end up buying something as well. So it's important to note that not all of the retailers are even kind of holding sales during this weekend, which just goes to show that the people that are hitting the site, they're simply looking to shop and they're kind of in the buying mode. So this massive increase in traffic doesn't mean that you need to kind of kill your margin. The intention is there from all of your various visitors during this vital time. And so this is a really good time to be delivering optimized experiences for the shoppers. So what we want to see now is a kind of breakdown of the devices that shoppers are on when they're coming through to the sites that we work with. And as you can see here, like more and more customers are shopping on their mobile devices instead of their desktops during Black Friday weekend. And in 2018, not even a quarter of all the shoppers were visiting retailers' websites on a desktop computer, which is quite surprising. In terms of the actual sales that we're seeing a near identical shift. So it's not quite as drastic of a share, but more and more shoppers are making their purchases on mobile devices. It would be interesting to dig a little deeper and see if the smaller share is as a result of less than optimal mobile experiences, kind of causing mobile shoppers to purchase less, or if it's simply the nature of how online shoppers behave. I know myself, I will frequently browse on my phone, and usually I leave the purchasing to my desktop. So, it could be the fact that phones now are still seen as that kind of browsing mechanism in the market, and then shoppers wait to kind of maybe get to work or get home to purchase from their desktop. Certainly the way I behave, at least. So that's something to ponder over. As I started to allude to on the previous slide, mobile devices are definitely seeing lower conversion rates than desktop computers, especially during this kind of big sales weekend. So we can assume this is probably down to sort of less than optimal experiences. But again, like I said, this could also just be a result of how shoppers perceive mobile shopping at this time. Again, I personally receive a ton of sales emails in the morning of Black Friday. I'm sure everyone can relate to this. Your inbox just totally blows up. And what I'm usually doing is on my way to work or usually already I'm in the office at this point, given the nature of my work. But I'm looking on my phone on my commute, and I don't necessarily intend to buy. But once I'm actually getting into the office and I'm back onto my laptop, I want to be able to dive back onto the sites and see those products that I was viewing, kind of make it, get back to the products that I have intentions of buying. And understanding this kind of behavior is going to be really important for you guys as retailers, because it really highlights the importance of delivering this kind of seamless experience across both mobile and desktop. That said, We know that more and more shoppers are visiting retail sites and making purchases during the Black Friday weekend. And we know they're largely moving towards mobile devices, at least for their browsing. So as more shoppers continue to join in on the big sales weekend, and as they continue moving towards these mobile devices, it's vital that retailers are ensuring that they make the most of every single shopping moment to maximize the performance over this time. So there's a little bit of a kind of background for you guys, and I'm sure you're thinking, okay, we get it. How can I make the most of Black Friday and kind of the weekend beyond? So we're going to get to that, but first we're going to discuss how we at Nosto suggest you go about optimizing your on-site experiences for this busy time. So let's start by discussing the key attributes of any truly good e-commerce site testing tool. First off, it's really important for the tool to be able to test both a single variable and a stream of different variables. So when you're building these on-site experiences, nothing is disconnected from everything else. So it's important to have the ability to test multiple variables of multiple moments along the shopper's journey on your site. On the other hand, sometimes you simply need to figure out how to optimize a single moment. So it's also important to have the ability to test different variables of one site element. And at Nosto, the kind of way that we handle that, or the way that we look to solve for this problem, is we offer essentially two testing methods. So we have campaign testing, which is for a single variable, so version A versus version B versus version N. And then we also have experience testing, which is for more than one variable, so testing multiple different pieces of content, different recommendations across the site in different positions. The next important feature is what we're going to call the continuous optimization aspect. And this essentially allows retailers to build their tests and to be able to trust that the machine learning power of Nosto is going to direct the majority of the traffic towards the variation that is performing best, obviously dependent on the metric that you're optimizing for. The way that this has been built, and obviously what this seeks to do, is to try and mitigate the amount of risk you're exposed to as a retailer. And in a lot of ways, it makes the act of testing kind of synonymous with the act of optimizing, because you have the machine in the background assigning the traffic based on the aspect that you're looking to test, or the KPI that you're looking to optimize your site for. And finally, this one's kind of unique, but we think it's important for a good e-commerce testing tool to have some form of merchandising insights. So with this feature, our retailers can learn about how different variations affect the sales of different products and brands. So oftentimes in a testing platform, you'll basically learn which one is the winner, and that's kind of the end of that. Whereas with Nosto, we are exposing a lot more information around the category structure, the brands, and the products within both variants, the winner and the loser of a test. That can kind of give you more insight, and you can see, why a test has worked so well. This comes in handy during the sales seasons, especially because a retailer can essentially go in and they can see if their optimizations are pushing people to purchase the products and the brands that you kind of want them to be as a retailer, and not just that their optimizations are increasing the purchases in general. So the kind of next concept that I want to touch on is the idea that when you're testing to optimize personalized experiences, it isn't necessarily about a winner versus a loser. The goal of optimizing is about discovering, it's not about discovering one variation and whether or not that performs better than all other variations. It's about actually discovering which variation performs best for each audience segment. And as you can see here, this is a great example of how you can create banners that speak to the different audience segments that are coming through to the site. So in this example, we've got 4 different banner creatives, and each speak to a different segment for this retailer, O'Neill's. And the hypothesis is obviously, if you're showing someone a personalized banner, are they going to be more engaged with the site? So we've got on the left here, we've got the kind of default variation, which is for rugby fans for that segment. And then on the right, we're working with a predefined segment, which are people who have a high affinity with women's products. Variation C, you can see we've got a segment of customers who are shopping for kids, and then variation D, you can see the men's segment there. And the idea here is to be showing these various segmented users content that's essentially going to get them more engaged and get them into the flow of shopping quicker, and going to make them feel like there's real personalization happening on the site. Where it truly gets interesting is if you want to test two similar yet different banner creatives for each of these 4 segments. So you may have, two versions of the women's homepage banner, and then you can, using a testing tool, you can start to dig into, all right, which version actually works better for the women's segment. So in that sense, it's very much learning about which variation is best, but there's not actually usually a single winner. There are usually multiple winners, and then only one winner per segment. So it's about giving you kind of freedom and flexibility to learn where you should be putting your efforts. So time to get into the meat of the presentation, I think, and we're going to dive into 5 kind of easy to implement optimizations that you can start making immediately to ensure that your site is performing at the very best of its ability for this upcoming Black Friday weekend. The first optimization that we're going to look at is creating personalized homepage banners to push each of your customers and each of the customer segments towards the category pages or the products that you want them to go towards. Your homepage is like the first thing that your shoppers see, and it's really, really impactful. So it's really important that we're using this valuable real estate to show customers a personalized experience. And as you can see on the right here, there's an example of a testing banner creative with a couple who's into hiking and or camping against a creative of a man fishing on a weekend getaway in the example B below. Now, if the majority of your audience is men who like fishing, then it's obvious that variation B is going to win over variation A. But if you remember how I said that optimizing personalized experiences isn't about finding a single winner, it's important to dig into your customer segments and discover if certain creatives perform better with the segments that they're geared towards. So in the context of Black Friday, for example, you could want to target girlfriends who are looking for camping gear for their hiking-loving boyfriend with variation A, whereas you could target the daughters of men who fish with variation B. So testing these different homepage banner creators with each segment can help you learn what's actually speaking best to them. And this can lead to essentially more engaged shoppers from the get-go. The next optimization isn't too far off from the one we were just discussing on the homepage. And I think it's important to maintain a shopper's attention if that main banner doesn't exactly make them want to click through right away. So if we look in the narrative for this image, for example, it's possible that this retailer is trying to push the shopper towards an end of season sale kind of category page with this main hero banner, as you can see, the model off-duty hero banner. And it's possible that this sort of general sales message might not actually interest the shopper. So as a backup, what you can do is you can show the shopper more specific category pages that are personalized to the segment that they belong to. For example, maybe these 3 category page recommendations that come after the banner here are actually the top performing categories for this segment. So by becoming more specific and more personalized after the first message doesn't resonate, like if that first message kind of doesn't resonate with the user, the retailer can make sure that their narrative is telling the shopper that they're still understanding them and that the banner was simply an initial suggestion for the sake of argument. So testing these different homepage narrative flows with each of your segments can really help you discover which types of follow-up content best support your hero banner. And our segments allow you to discover these nuances, and it's really important that in your journey towards like a true one-to-one personalization experience, you test these different narrative flows within each of your segments, because it can help you create really personalized experiences, especially since no single site element can exist in a vacuum. There's no kind of silver bullet for this stuff. So that's a really nice way and a good example of how a retailer is using the segment insights to actually show the top performing categories of the segment that we're targeting. So next up, we want to look more at the sort of merchandising aspect. And during Black Friday weekend, you're most likely to have a specific sale on certain products that you want to sell. That's a kind of inevitability. It's important to combine these sales with shopper wants and needs to deliver these personalized recommendations that actually meet shoppers halfway. So if you elect to only show discounted products, but then also add regular personalized recommendation rules to your product page recommendations, you can then ensure that the most relevant products that happen to be on sale are shown to your shoppers. So this really helps you surface your sales and ensures that the shoppers are given the sort of option to seamlessly participate in the sale, and they're still being personalized for. So it's pretty straightforward, and it can be implemented by everyone who's using Nosto. You're essentially going to be using a couple more filters to ensure that we're not only personalizing the recommendation, but we're prioritizing discounted products in these vital sections of your product pages and beyond. Okay, so the fourth optimization is simply making sure that you're properly using pop-ups to incentivize conversion. So the important thing with pop-ups is they can be a little bit of a touchy subject for some people, but creating discounts and offers that are actually personalized to shopper behavior is a really, really good strategy for counteracting unwanted behavior. So if a shopper lands on a product page for a jacket and then navigates away from it, then it's a really, really smart idea to try and pull them back in with a pop-up that advertises the fact that you are currently running a sale on your jackets category. And other great uses of pop-ups during Black Friday weekend can include messages about a free gift that comes with every purchase, for example, or an offer for free shipping once a shopper exceeds a certain amount in their cart. So there's different ways to implement these messages, and it doesn't always have to crush your margin. You don't always have to be giving percentages away on that initial purchase. And during the Black Friday weekend, shoppers are extremely willing to buy. So it's really important to remember that. And they're also looking all over the place for the best deals that they can find. So it's important to keep hold of their attention when they start to slip away, because if you don't, then someone else is going to grab it essentially. And figuring out which pop-ups and which messaging works best for each of your segments could mean the difference between converting originally hesitant shoppers and maybe losing them as a potential customer forever. So that's just something to think about there. Okay, we're going to take a bit of a pause. I've thrown a lot of examples at you, so I'm going to give you an example of one of these kind of optimizations in action. Talking about one of our customers here in the UK, Cordings, they needed to ensure during their summer sale that they employed multiple personalization tactics to increase their conversion rate. And thus, the sales that they actually saw during this period far exceeded anything they'd seen before. So by surfacing their seasonal sales and implementing pop-ups during moments of shopper indecisions to showcase specific offers or discounts, this brand essentially increased their conversion rate by 41%, and their sales season was up 89%, year over year. So this is like living proof that optimizations during these big periods of sale really, really work, and it's worth just spending the time to make sure that you're kind of firing on all cylinders, as it were. So the fifth and final optimization that I think you can really make use of for this upcoming weekend is to test different product recommendation rules or algorithms. So product recommendation algorithms can include anything from similar products, alternatives to the currently viewed product, all the way through to specific products on certain pages within a certain price threshold of the product that's being viewed. So it's important to test different rules with different segments, both to see what each segment reacts to and to also see what rules provided results closest to what you specifically want. If you're going after conversion through this period, which everyone is, maybe it's not the best time to be filtering by price, because you know that people are going to be identifying and trying to find the best deal at this time. So for example, if you want to sell a more expensive shirt that is similar to a shirt than shoppers often view, then you may want to implement a recommendation rule that would say, okay, show me all of the shirts like this one that the customer's viewing here, but also put 10% more expensive shirts in the recommendation block. So this would be a good time to see if that actually does move the needle and if it does increase your average order value. And there's dozens of different combinations that you can implement to accomplish these different goals. And it's really important to remember that each different segment should have their own goals and strategies. The other thing that I was going to say was that I think that it's important to note that before you kind of go crazy with testing, you can start with a handful to prove some of your maybe anecdotal hypotheses and then start to expand. But starting with at least one kind of deliberate recommendation testing strategy for one of your segments this year could make all the difference. Okay. The next thing I want to show is kind of an example of what we were just talking about. So Volcom here, they use a very specific dynamic bundle recommendation where they're basically manually selecting different products that should be recommended on each product page. And this allows them to upsell the shoppers, as you can see here, by showing them other articles of clothing that go with the current article as a full outfit. So this strategy is a really, really good one for Black Friday weekend, since a lot of shoppers are looking for gifts. And this can, I mean, it's pretty rare that if you're gifting, you're going to be buying someone a full outfit. So using something like a bundle can be a really, really good way of selling these kind of maybe lower entry price point items that can be used as stocking fillers or kind of smaller items that can be used for gifting during the period, essentially. So that's a really nice example of how we can pair some accessories with a jacket in this case. So a simple little fix, and yeah, can have a real impact. I know I said I was only going to do 5 optimizations, but I actually do have one more. So this is just a little bonus optimization to take away. And like I said earlier, Black Friday weekend is a time of like high shopper intention. So people are looking to buy stuff, but they're also being bombarded, quite frankly, with too many deals and sales, and it's really, really hard to pay attention to them all. So it's important to showcase your deals in as many places as possible, but it's also to make sure that these emails that you're sending out are actually personalized. So it's really, really smart to use something like a personalized email widget that you can see here in the Dunhill example, which lets shoppers know that the certain products that you might have been coveting after for a few weeks are now actually on sale on the site, and they're kind of being included within your Black Friday promotions. So it's a really, really good way to engage customers and make sure that we're grabbing their attention like from the get-go, because you get so many emails, as I said earlier. You can also implement different kind of trigger emails and triggered emails from within the platform to see what works best with your shoppers. So there might have been people who before Black Friday have been abandoning their carts, and this would be a really, really good time to maybe hit them with their baskets once more now that you're in a period of sale, so you can get people back on the site and get people into that buying mode. And this optimization can really help you pull these kind of indecisive shoppers back into that purchase funnel. And having this personalized email strategy is a really surefire way to extend your reach and grab shoppers' attention. So they're not necessarily thinking about you. As I say, I'm reading these messages on the train on the way into work. I've got thousands of offers coming in and I don't really know where to start. So testing these different strategies can really help you optimize for the best performance. So that's kind of everything that I wanted to go through today. Just to recap some of the main points here. Make the most of your first impressions. So use dynamic content to make sure you're telling the right stories and giving customers who are coming back to the site the right homepage narrative. Make them, let your customers know that you're actually making a considered decision for them. This goes through into your product pages again by making sure that you're surfacing not only relevant products, so using your personalization to show products that they're going to be interested in, but also making sure that you're showing the products that are on sale. We know that customers are looking for those discounts, so let's show them stuff that is that's included within there. You can also incentivize the conversion with the pop-ups. Like, you're going to have so many users coming through, and this huge hike in traffic over this weekend is really, really important that even if they don't buy, this is a massive opportunity to get customers' email addresses so that you can turn them into a customer further down the line. And then of course you can increase these upsells with unique recommendation rules that we were talking about. Try playing with some filters. You've got an increase in traffic over this period. So maybe we can try with some filters. We can try showing half of our audience shirts that are slightly more expensive, and we can show the other half of the audience shirts that are on sale. And then you can start to learn about which ones are going to perform best. And then lastly, the little bonus one is, of course, just use your triggered emails and personalized email widgets to make sure that you're staying top of mind for these merchants, for your customers, sorry. And yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. I'm just gonna kind of open the floor for a bit of Q&A here. So bear with me while I just pull up some of these questions. Okay, cool, we've got some come in. And how do you recommend retailers decide on what direction to go for with the variations they want to test? Where does it all start? That is a really good question. And the best place to start is in the data. So from my perspective, if I was working for a retailer again, I would firstly jump into my insights, my merchandising and insights section of the Nosto dashboard, and maybe confirm some of those hypotheses that you already have. And then you can verify it and you can back it up. So if you're gonna be able to go in there and you're gonna be able to see a bunch of different segments and how they perform. And quite honestly, you don't want to waste a load of energy going after a small segment of your audience that doesn't generate a huge amount of revenue for you. Go into the insights, see where you can get where there is the most opportunity, and then you can start thinking about how you can be creative in the way that you're targeting them. Okay. What are some of the best practices you've seen for pop-ups? Really good question. As I say, we have the welcome new customers pop-up. So again, I kind of mentioned this on the previous slide, but when customers are coming through from looking for these deals and they're new customers, they may not purchase right away. But let's try and get them into that journey at least by giving them a bit of a trade-off, and you give us your email and we're going to give you exclusive access to our Black Friday sale, for example. So that's a really, really good way of creatively using a pop-up to sort of hit another metric, which is maybe for your list growth. Also, abandoned carts is a really, really simple one. If you're a bit more understated and you're running maybe a secret sale and it's based on if you spend over X amount. I know there's a retailer here in the UK who are doing a thing where if you spend £200, you get £20 off your cart, for example. If I've got £200 in my cart and I look like I'm going to navigate away, you don't have to spam me with a big message. You can just have a very nice, subtly designed pop-up which says, "Did you know that for this weekend only, you get £20 off your order if you spend £200. So we're not, again, in that example, we're not throwing discount at everyone and crushing our margin, but we are, hitting the sections of the audience that we want, and it's based on a cart sort of valuation in that example. Okay, what are different examples of personalized homepage narratives that you've seen retailers implement? Yeah, so kind of talking back to, and this sort of links in with the pop-up thing as well, there's some really, really nice ways that you can improve, kind of enhance your homepage for this period to make sure that you're sending different messages to different people. One thing that I think works really well is we've seen some people running like a VIP sale, whereby if you're an expensive, if you're a big spender on a site, you'll get an email which will say, hey, you get exclusive access to a sale. And one thing that we've found that works really nicely is anyone who clicks through from that email can then be shown some content on the homepage that takes them through to a secret category that contains all of this lovely products at a reduced price because you're a valued shopper. So that can be really nice. And then there's more simple rudimentary things like, having new customer discount messaging in a banner for the homepage versus a loyal customer coming back. You can show them new products or link them to a new category or something like that. So there's tons of different implementations you can do there. And sort of the sky's the limit with this, because we can be very, very flexible with how we render these experiences. Basically anything on the page we can modify now. So it's yeah, it's quite an exciting time. There's a question here on recommendations. Are different product recommendation algorithms more successful on different pages? Which algorithms do you see work best on which pages? That is a really good question. And I think there are some key fundamentals. So we're talking about the homepage a minute ago. On the homepage, you need to be personalizing, like people expect it now. So on the homepage, one of the things that I like to do is I'll always kind of counsel people that they should have a stacked sort of recommendation on their homepage, whereby the sort of top tier, so customers who've either purchased or browsed, are getting a personalized recommendation, and then your new customers coming through are getting a bestseller. During this period, it might even be better to show people their browsing history. So if they have browse history, let's show them that when they get back to the homepage, because everyone's looking at those trainers for months, they finally go in the sale, and then they can afford to buy them. So maybe you want to show them their browsing history in that example, and then the bestseller filtered by discount, for example. Product pages, again, is a really, really key place. I think doing a product-based cross-sell on a product page is a smart way to do it. And then if you want to show people alternatives or complementary products from other categories, what's kind of nice is to use more of the personalization aspect of Nosto and use a browsing history related recommendation, either on the product page or on the cart page. And what browsing history related recommendations do is they work very much like a Netflix or a Spotify, whereby it looks at all of the products or all of the, in the case of Spotify, it looks at all of the music you've listened to, and it throws up new products or new songs that you're going to like based on your browsing and your listening history. And this is very much the same thing that Nosto can do. So it kind of aids product discovery, and you can filter it by category. So if I'm looking at a shirt, you can have a row of alternative shirts, and then below that you could have a personalized set of different products from outside of the shirts category that I'm going to like based on the fact that I've engaged with this shirt. So that's really, really powerful. And the cart page as well. Cart page is our most frequently used recommendation. Give people cart-based recommendations. It's super easy to set up, and they yield a really, really good return. Like our average cart rate conversion rate is about 9%. And we've seen anywhere up to like 50% as well. So definitely use your cart page for sure. There's a couple more here as well. What type of triggers have you seen retailers use for triggered emails? Good question. You've got a pretty finite window, as dependent on how quick your sale is. I would actually say that for this period, you could reduce the window down. If you're doing abandoned basket emails, for example, already, then I would say that over the Black Friday weekend, let's really reduce that time period down to maybe half an hour to create that urgency and make sure that customers know that there's a sort of limited amount of time where you're going to be able to, make that purchase of that thing that you were considering on your phone when you're on your way into work. Okay, and then the last one that we have here is, oh no, that's it. That's great. Okay, that's basically all we have time for today. So if you've asked a question that wasn't answered, I'll make sure that myself or one of our kind of product specialists reaches out to you directly with an answer. Thank you so much for joining. We wish you all the best of luck with the Black Friday weekend and beyond. And yeah, tune in again soon for more content from Nosto. Thanks very much, guys.